Man, what a historic night it was at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. Hey folks, Cal Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and this is my take, Nitro's take, on the 2019 AEW Full Gear event, which took place November 9th, 2019, again from Baltimore, Maryland, in conjunction with StarCast 4 that was happening in Baltimore as well at the same time. But this is my take on the event that was seen around the world on pay-per-view and on Fight TV and wherever you were able to watch it. So, again, my opinion, my take on everything that happened. This 8-match show started with B. Priestley and Britt Baker in a grudge match on the buy-in pre-show. That match went 11:35 with Baker getting the win via submission at 11:35 via the lockjaw. Now, there were reports going into this that this match wouldn't take place or wouldn't occur just due to the fact that Britt Baker was suffering from the flu, and she gutted her way through the performance for sure. You could kind of tell in this match that both girls were taking it maybe a step down, a little bit easier than your normal pace that you'd see at like Stardom or even on AEW television. The match kind of felt a little disjointed at first, but after working through a kind of a transitory middle section and that stuff, the finish was right there, and both girls seemed to hit their stride before the end of the match. So it was a great match to watch, to really get everybody's appetite wet, as a great palate cleanser and palate a taster, I guess, of what it would be for the night and for the show itself. Little did we know that kind of the weirdness of the night would continue into the main pay-per-view, but this was a great scene setter. We finally open the pay-per-view proper, and we take a look at the opener on the actual pay-per-view broadcast with the Proud and Powerful, which was Santana and Ortiz taking on the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, in a tag team war to open everything from the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore. The time of the match was 21 minutes, and the finish of the match was Santana and Ortiz hitting their street sweeper finish on Nick Jackson to win the match. Again, another match where it was kind of disjointed at certain parts, of a kind of a slow, prodding, kind of weird vibe to it to start. And then once things started rolling, the match itself became really good and really watchable as the momentum went on and on and on. The Rock and Roll Express were ringside as guests of the Young Bucks after what happened to them on AEW Dynamite a couple weeks ago. I almost said Impact. And the match itself it was really cool to see them kind of woven into the story of this match, where there were brawls to the outside and that stuff, and Santana and Ortiz a couple of times sent I think it was Nick Jackson over the barricade into the Rock and Roll Express that were sitting ringside again and that stuff, and the Rock and Rolls actually helped out Nick over the apron, or over the barricade, I should say, and getting him back in the match and that stuff. Nick was suffering from some sort of shin or a knee injury at the beginning of this match. They were really selling during the match itself, and that told a great story as well. Matt, the back looks fine. I don't think there's any issues now with the back, because dude's a powerhouse to the Bucks and just was tossing Santana and Ortiz around like nobody's business. It was post-match that caused the most viral clip of the evening, where we had Ricky Morton execute, with a little help, over the top rope after the match was done, and were Proud and Powerful, Ortiz and Santana, attempted to beat down on the Young Bucks. The Rock and Roll Express attempted to hit the ring for the save, and we saw Ricky Morton deliver a Canadian Destroyer, of all things, over the top rope to one of the members of the Proud and Powerful. I think it was Ortiz in that, taking the receiving end of the move. So I think that will we see more of the current NWA Tag Team Champions in AEW going forward? Probably. Maybe there might be something there. There might be something that they're building up for the cruise. Who knows? Because as it stands right now, the Chris Jericho Rockin' Rager at Sea seems to be AEW's next event in January. So we'll have to wait and see what happens out there. But hey, on Wednesday, I guess we'll find out more. Second match was a grudge match, and a match that we were supposed to see at Double or Nothing back in May, and we finally get to see it in November in Baltimore. It's Hangman Adam Page versus Pac. A great match. The match itself ran 18:30, and the finish of the match, after avoiding both a brutalizer and a black arrow, Page hit Pac with the dead eye for the victory. So Page finally gets his victory over Pac, and Pac finally suffers his first loss in AEW, and that's huge when records count for sure. Great match. It kind of shook the weirdness out of the crowd and that stuff of the first two matches because of the weird pace from Baker and Priestley, just due to Britt's illness a little bit, I would say, and kind of hindered her performance a bit, in my opinion. And then the whole telling of the story with the Bucks and Proud and Powerful. It was a great refreshing match. This was a hard-hitting contest back and forth. And yeah, this is big for Adam Page to kind of reset. He was looking for that big win storyline-wise, looking for that big win to kind of reset himself, to go back into contention a little bit. Now, at some point during the match, Mike Sempervive from the Wrestling Observer and Radio Network and that stuff is reporting that at some time during the match, Hangman Adam Page suffered a stinger at the hands of Pac. So we'll wait and see about his health going forward and that stuff. Hopefully it is very minor, and Hangman Adam Page can get back into the ring sooner rather than later, because having him on the injured reserve after this pay-per-view and that stuff is probably not ideal going into a very crucial period and a transitory period, as AEW will now have to look going into 2020 at operating through its first full calendar year of events, not starting up in May or anything like that, going from January 1st on to December 31st of 2020, of course. The next match, Shawn Spears, accompanied by Tully Blanchard, took on Joey Janela. I was looking forward to this match because it was built up on AEW Dark the previous week and that stuff, with the whole backstage vignette with the cigarette and basically the mob hit by Spears and Blanchard. And this match itself was a 11 minutes and 45 seconds long contest, and for the finish, Spears removed a turnbuckle pad from the ring post, and while the referee was attempting to fix the detached turnbuckle, Spears and Blanchard hit Janela with a spike pile driver on the ring steps, which was amazing. That was such a callback to the Brainbusters that I loved it. Spears then rolled Janela into the ring and delivered a Death Valley driver for the win. I have nothing bad to say about this match. I thought that the placement of a Kip Sabian Penelope Ford vignette was very interesting afterwards. I think that kind of transitions Janela out of the feud with Spears and Blanchard and into one with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford a little bit. Of course, there's some, I don't want to say real life heat between the two of them or the three of them, but if you can do some of your own digging yourself and see the real life, shall we say, situation with the three of them over the past year or so. Basically, Penelope was with Joey, now is with Kip. So, read into that what you will. Tag team action coming up next, as the freeway for the AEW World Tag Team titles was up next, with the winners of the tournament, SoCal Uncensored, taking on the second place team, the Lucha Brothers, and the third place team that was decided in a match on Dynamite the week before on Wednesday, Private Party, who defeated the Dark Order on Wednesday to claim the bronze medal and the third place slot and the chance at the AEW Tag Team titles going into Full Gear. And this was an incredible match again from start to finish. The match length was 13 minutes. And the finish of it, Cassidy and Quinn then attempted to hit Kazarian and Sky with their double team finisher, but they dodged it. Sky and Kazarian delivered a SCU later for the pinfall victory for a 1-2-3. Right when SCU was celebrating, the Lucha Bros then hit the ring and start attacking SCU, and the lights go out, and then we come back up to double doinked. Well, no, double pentagons, more like it. Two Pentagon Juniors in the ring, and while they were doing the whole miming thing with the Zero Miedo and that stuff, the brand new Pentagon Junior all of a sudden kick to the gut, and Angel's wings, and we know exactly who's under that mask. It is the third member of SCU, Christopher Daniels, who was laid out week 2 via the Lucha Brothers via a pile driver on the stage, and suffered what many thought was a devastating neck injury, and that story kind of reaches its next level after Full Gear here and that stuff, with Chris Daniels coming back with the Pentagon Jr. costume, doing a little cosplay at Full Gear and StarCast 4 weekend. Next match was for the AEW Women's Championship. The champion, Riho, taking on Emi Sakura, her trainer, Ryu's trainer, and they told a very interesting story over the past couple of weeks or so, and you had to kind of clue in online on the AEW YouTube channels and that stuff to get kind of the backstory behind it. Match itself ran 13:20, and the finish was Sakura rolling up Riho for a near fall. The two then quickly exchanged pinfall attempts before Riho hit Sakura with a double foot stomp to the head, kind of a coup de grace type maneuver, very similar to what Finn Balor uses over on the other side on WWE, and to retain the championship. And this match itself was very good. Sakura, again, I don't think is a strong heel. I think, if anything, you don't want to boo the Freddie Mercury cosplayer. You want to cheer the Freddie Mercury cosplayer. So I put up a little fun poll on my Twitter at Kellen Nitro. You can see the results of it during the pay-per-view. Who does the better cosplay, Emi Sakura or Shinsuke Nakamura of Freddie Mercury? And it, at last look, was a 67 to 33% victory for Nakamura. So everybody going with the OG Prince of Strong Style, or King of Strong Style, I should say, not the Prince of Strong Style, but the OG King of Strong Style from the New Japan days and that stuff with Nakamura. But hey, Emi does a great 1980s Live Aid Freddie Mercury, even with the mustache. So highly anticipated match for the AEW World Championship up next. Chris Jericho, accompanied to the ring by fellow Inner Circle member Jake Hager, taking on Cody, accompanied by his best friend MJF. And this match was 29:35 in length. If Cody lost, he would never again challenge for the AEW World Championship, and he lost via a referee stoppage when MJF, his corner man, decided to throw in the towel. And a good callback to Survivor Series back so many years ago when Owen got Brett's mom to throw in the towel against Bob Backlund, because Davey Boy Smith was laid out down on the ground, right? So a good callback for that. Whether it was a deliberate move from MJF or it was MJF kind of, trying to save his friend at the time and that stuff, we'll find out more on Wednesday. What we do know was it was the catalyst, we think, to MJF's heel turn here, as post-match MJF goes low and nails Cody with a low blow, a kick to the groin, if you will. And on his way back to the dressing room, a fan threw a full beverage of some sort. Some are saying a beer, some are saying a soda. I don't know what it was, but it got all over MJF, and the camera kind of panned quickly to the side and saw where this fan was getting absolutely mauled by security and hauled out of the arena. So, and the house was hot towards MJF. So it appears the heel turn is in full swing, full earnest here, and MJF back aligned on the heel side. He was kind of, I kind of dug him as a face a little bit, but I know that he's a better heel than he is a face, so that's kind of cool. But I again really dug him as a face over the past few weeks here, and that's because he was a face, but he was a face with a little bit of a cheeky side to him, kind of a smart ass face, if that, maybe more of a tweener than anything else. But back to full heeldom for MJF at the end of this one. Great match, awesome, one of the best matches of the year from any promotion. The lights did went out, and then they came back on. For it was time for the lights out main event, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, and oh my god, 38 minutes and 45 seconds, with the finish being Omega attempting to hit Moxley with a DDT and went for a Phoenix Splash, but Moxley moving at the last second, smashing Omega's face into the exposed wood of the ring itself, because Moxley had rolled back the ring and the padding and that stuff and the canvas and everything to expose the wood underneath the ring, kind of harkening back to the LAX war from Bound for Glory about a year ago when we first seen it on the mainstream wrestling scene. Moxley didn't hit the paradigm shift for the win at 38-45, and this match is obscene. If there is one match you watch from this pay-per-view, make it this one. It was incredible from start to finish. What a wild encounter. And it was probably one of my favorite matches of the year. It's not for the weak at heart. It's not for the small children. It's very violent in nature. A lot of blood, a lot of gore happening in this thing. Watching Kenny Omega in a hardcore match is like watching a Ferrari in a snowstorm. It doesn't belong, but to some extent, it'll get you from point A to point B, because it is a motor vehicle with tires. And again, Kenny Omega, this match of the year factory, that stuff really doesn't belong in hardcore matches such as this, but itself, it stood alone as one of the best matches of the year. And Kenny's, I guess, bad luck for the year of 2019 continues going forward. And I don't want to say Kenny's 0-4, because he's actually had some wins since jumping over to AEW. But, on the big cards, for whatever reason, after Kenny could get it done in 2018 over in New Japan, he jumps over to 2019 in AEW, and he's suffered quite a few losses over the years. So luckily this one wasn't on record, because it being a lights out match and that stuff. However, I kind of get the feeling that Jericho and Moxley will be button heads at some point, maybe on the cruise. We'll wait and see about that. So all in all, AEW Full Gear gets a solid 9 out of 10 and a definite must watch again from me. Again, the only real downside to the card was the weirdness that I thought the first hour had of the first couple of matches. But I think other than that, we worked through that. And we end up getting ourselves a pretty decent little pay-per-view at the end of it all. So anyways, I'm Kellen Nitro. Later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll catch you guys later on the channel. Some great stuff coming up. I did some shooting with Morehouse here earlier in the day. I should shout out to Morehouse and Here Comes Mongo, the random fella himself, Dan, for coming over and checking out the show with me. They couldn't stick around for the recap, but we shot some stuff prior to the show that I think you guys are going to really like. So look for that coming up over the next few days on the channel. But for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and for all of us here, I'm Kellen Nitro. See you next time.